is back again then, guys, and I'm very excited to talk to David Lowe today from Budo Marketing Group. We're going to go all through David's history in the martial arts, and we're going to go through how he has developed what he's doing now, and most importantly, we're going to be discussing how martial arts school owners can find maybe potentially an additional £10,000 income in their school. David, how are you?
Hi.
How are you doing?
I adjusted my lighting.
No worries. How's things, sir? You well?
Yeah, really good. Thanks, Dan. Really good. Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. I think most people within the martial arts kind of sector know you, and definitely within the marketing sector as well. But can you give us a little bit of a brief history of David Lowe? I know you were involved with Bitomic many years ago, and then now you kind of developed it into Budo Marketing, where you help martial arts school owners with their marketing and all sorts of different things at that point. So you'll explain it far better than I will in your history. So yeah, it's over to you.
I'll give it a go. Started off as a martial artist in 1982, believe it or not, in Taekwondo. So did that, got involved with karate, went to America, lived with a Japanese master, which was Kiyoshi Yamazaki. Lived in his dojo, so it was like the Karate Kid thing. Then came back, quit my job. I was an precision engineer, so it was with the Grand Prix teams back then when they didn't have engineering workshops. So we did all that. Got into sales on that side, hated it, and then one of the karate instructors, Ron Silverthorne, sadly passed away just recently this year. Said to me, and he was under Yamazaki, said, "Dave, why don't you just go professional?" I was like, "Yeah, I may as well."
Yeah.
So the company car went. The money I got when I quit my sales job, bought an old little mini Metro, £650 mini Metro. I had 2 part-time schools clubs, running, and that was it. The rest was history, really, and just went from there. But he taught me. Ron was very good with the business side of things and a very strong karateka. It's traditional karate. But yeah, he had that business mind about him, which was very rare back then as well.
Back in those days, yeah.
Yeah, it was. So that helped. I would say, in terms of how professional I was back then to what we see nowadays was, chalk and cheese at the end of the day. Dark and night. Night and day. Get there in the end. It was very different. So that was that, and then I went professional, was teaching schools, needed product like everyone does. Used to go to London to get my kit from down there, from Magin, if anyone remembers them back in the day, down the Goldhawk Road. And I used to drive to London once every fortnight to get martial arts equipment. And then I met Ashley, who became my partner as well as my business partner then, and she was selling martial arts equipment through Paul Coleman. It was him who introduced me to her. And I was teaching, started getting involved with Bitomic, and it was very small. It was in like on a farm unit, which was a tiny little place. And she was bringing over macho dip foam at the time for the Taekwondo industry, and that's how it started. And at the end of the day, I gradually got dragged into that side because she wasn't a martial artist, her ex was, and I was. So, and I knew a lot of people, and the rest is history. And as that grew, in 2002 I had to sell my schools to my main instructor, so he took those over. I was even training to be a chiropractor. I had no vision of going into. I was coming out of the martial arts possibly, or carrying on maybe. It was one of those. The distribution just took over selling the kit. So let me just plug in my. Sorry, I'm going to plug in my computer because my battery's dying. There we go. And yeah, and the rest was really history. Like I said, Bitomic grew and grew. I was very interested in the business side of it because I was a professional school owner then, so, and I was keen to help other schools grow or see them grow, because at the end of the day, if they grew, they bought more kit, bought more kit from us, we're all happy.
Yeah, mutually beneficial.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that was the theory, and it worked. But in 1999/2000, really came across the real business side of things. With people like Kim Stones, Lee Childs, John Jepson, Frank Murphy. All those people at that time were pioneers. They all wanted that professionalism, and the EFC had come over to the UK.
Yeah, this was very American driven, wasn't it,
Mm,
originally? Kind of.
yeah.
Yeah.
And John Kokinis and that side of it, and you saw all these people who they had their all stars book, and if you looked at that, you see all these people making ridiculous amounts of money in America. Stephen Oliver was their top guy at the time. He was the first person that I know of. I mean, I'm sure he claims it. He was the first person to do over $1 million in the school. And he's still in the industry to this day, and a good friend of mine. And he's really a powerful figure. He doesn't have to be in it. He's just his passion for the martial arts. There are people like him, and so that was a bit of an influence. And I took that on board. And at the time, I was transitioning out of my schools to Biotomic. This is like the early 2000s. And but I'd introduced some of those concepts into my schools, and then I just took it a step further. When I exited, I brought over NAPMAR, which is the National Association of Professional Martial Artists, which people might or might not have heard of. It's gone now. It was taken over by Century, who then introduced MIA, Martial Arts Industry Association, and I brought that product over, and it was a monthly subscription for school owners. Business in a box. They got a video, or you then turned into DVDs back in the day. So it was a VHS video, a trade magazine about helping them with the business side, things to do on the mat, things to do in the background, in the back office, skills for business, and also marketing material. And that was how it all started with that side of it. And I grew that to about 150 school owners were subscribing back then, and that's what grew, in my view, grew the industry, along with what Kim was doing with billing companies. They brought over United Professionals. You had EFC going. Then Nest started with Gerard and John Jepson. And things became, they just started to go that way.
What were some of the concepts that came across from America that you kind of employed, what you thought were some of the most important things then that people weren't doing here in the UK?
Well, one of the big one was billing to start with, and how you collected your fees. The other one was what they were charging was considerably different from most schools. Those types of concepts, and we brought over some of the Americans at the time. We brought over Tom Callis, a couple of EFC guys. I even brought over Mark Kokinis came over to one of my conventions we did seminars back then. Everyone's heard of MABEX.
Yeah.
Well, the College of Martial Arts was predated that, is what we did. And we had over, all of these Americans came over and had about 120, 130 people at the Forest of Arden Golf and Country Club. We did it there. I remember somebody complaining to me because they said, "Dave, why'd you do it here?" And I said, well, it's a nice place. He said, "Yeah, but the hotel rooms are so expensive." And I said, "That's the point."
There we go. Yeah.
Raising tide and all that stuff. Rising tide. Yeah. But I saw the coaching side of it. More than anything, it's kind of like learning from others. That was the thing, and how we could develop the industry was a big one. Which then, funnily enough, the problem was it was so American, and a lot of people said that. Although if you look past that, the information was still the same at the end of the day. But some of the geographical stuff changes, like the sales process is a little bit different in the States than it is over here. And still is, in a sense. We're very much more reserved in a sense, whereas Americans like to be sold, right? So what happened? Oh, my phone's going. What happened then was at Biotomic, we were growing to a point around about 2004-05. We were growing to a point where we were employing so many people. We needed some systems, because we were growing. So from the martial arts side, then our side, we were growing month on month. We were bootstrapping it as well. We never had a business loan at all. And we were growing month on month, where we got to the point where we looked at each other one day and we went, we're going to need some coaching, because somebody said to us about the warehouse, and we just moved into this new dedicated warehousing from the farm. We were on the farm for a few years, and we kept moving because we kept running out of space. Wasim was with us from Rupla. Yeah, he was our main supplier at one point as well. Yeah, a lot of people still know him. And we bought our own warehousing. We were the first to do that. Blitz and Cymac didn't do that, and they were our main competitors until Cymac did. And we needed a business coach, so we looked beyond, so it wasn't the martial arts. We looked beyond sort of what we were doing, and kind of like we went to a seminar that was from a business coach. we employed him. Long story short, he came in with us for 2 years and helped us really transform the way we ran our company. Even to the point where he encouraged us to rebrand, which we did as well. We did a big rebrand. But from what he taught me, he was the catalyst. This guy still doesn't know it to this day. He didn't know that what he taught me, I took and put into the martial arts industry because I saw that as a gap.
Sure.
And it was basically what was called 90-day coaching. So you'd plan every 90 days, you'd take all of your different parts of your business. There might be money, people, time, products, whatever it is, and you would goal plan on each one of those sections.
Yes.
Anyone can do this watching. You just write down your most important things, each part of your business. You take the top three, and then you work on the most important one, tick that off, do the next one, and then at the end of the quarter, you go back, and we used to do the meetings with all the martial arts guys, because this is what I did with him, with other business owners. And we'd go, some of them had snowboarding companies, things that one of them, I remember that, it's called Two Seasons, still around to this day. And he was like a millionaire, this guy. I sat next to this guy, and he's like, we're doing the same thing. And once you tick those off, you went back to the questions. Questions never changed. Have you created a standard operating procedure for this? Have you done a marketing plan for this? Do you have a system for it so it repeats? Stuff like that. Do you manage your budget? How much are you put into your budget every month? All that type of thing. And it got to the point where in 2007-8, I pretty much ticked off everything.
Wow.
For the business, and that's why we became a multi-million-pound company. We were doing 200,000 to 300,000 a month when I left.
Amazing.
But we took that, put that into the martial arts industry, and that was the coaching side that I believe you see today, or did back in the mid 2000s, late 2000s.
Yeah, it's so needed, isn't it? Because just like the things that you said there, it's like, okay, look at a 90-day plan. Most people just want to go and teach martial arts, I'd imagine. The way that they kind of go into their school is maybe they teach martial arts, they maybe get their black belt or a higher belt, and then they start taking assisting classes, and then at some point maybe they run their own like a satellite or kind of go out on their own. But you never get that business backing, or you definitely didn't in the past. Knowing how to set your goals, how to set your priorities, how to look at your finances, how to look at your budget, things like that. Completely alien to most people going into it, no matter what they're setting up a business. They just love training martial arts and that's it, and they just want to do it. So having that backup and having that kind of like, okay, this is like a structured roadmap, I think is so important, like I said.
Yeah, the money side of it as well. We're all guilty of it now and again, where we just don't want to look at our bank account. But you must every day, check, see what's coming in, what's going out, get rid of things that you really, really don't need, and things that you super do need, keep and double down on, things like that. So it's important to watch your finances, without a doubt.
How were you received initially then? Was there any kind of pushback against what you were doing in terms of the coaching and things like that? Because I know martial artists, they can be pretty pig-headed at some points and pretty resistant to change. So if someone comes in and kind of rocks the boat a little bit, and so it's like the EFC. I remember when I was training many, many years ago, when I was a kid, the EFC came in and there was a bit of an uproar at that point. It's like, I'm not sure about these monthly things. We are used to paying by class, or you have to train twice a week, or this is the package, etc. And there was some pushback on that. So how were you received when you started pushing your ideas out?
There was plenty of pushback. Yeah, there really was. It was a matter of me of not just working in Biotomic and picking the phone up to take orders, but also put the phone down and then call someone, to say, oh, you're interested in martial arts marketing to increase your all this stuff. I used to tell them all this stuff. I remember that. And one of the guys said to me once, "Oh, I don't want any of that." It's like, oh, well, what do you want then? It's kind of like I should have said, "Are you interested in growing your school?" And if they'd said yes, say, "Okay, then," and you drill down into one thing. So it's a big learning curve. But yeah, plenty of pushback, even from people like. I'll give you a prime example. There's a big group now, a Taekwondo group called Puma. And Mark Ogborn and Ray Gale formed Puma round about those days, but they were in the TAGB. And Mark Ogborn, because we used to sell a lot of Taekwondo kit at Biotomic because it was predominantly started by a Taekwondo guy. And so, the TAGB were a big part of that business at that time, growing and selling the dip foam and stuff. And Mark and Ray were in the TAGB. And I phoned Mark No, he'd rang for place an order, and I said to him, Mark, I've got that. And I was like really super hyped with it all. You know, it's like going in. I went into my martial arts school when it was EFC,
Yeah,
and I was telling some of the instructors, "Oh, this new stuff, it's going to change everything. You know, you won't believe what we can do." Blah, blah. And they were going, "Well, what is it, Dave? What's it?" I go, "I don't know what it is. I just know it's going to make a
yeah,
difference."
yeah.
And that was kind of the approach. And I was like that with Mark, and I said, "Mark, you really got to see this." Oh, I'm not interested in any of that stuff. You know, and I said, well, can I just send you the magazine? Yeah, send me the magazine. You know, like the trade magazine. So I went, put it in an envelope, stuck it in his order, shipped it out to him next day. The very next day, he called me, Mark Ogborn, and he was excited. He was the excited one. He
Yeah,
went, Dave, and I said, yeah. He goes, that magazine. I went, yeah. I can't believe it, mate. We've got to have a meeting. Is that actually happened?
wow, okay.
Yeah, and he said, "Can we meet tomorrow? I'll drive down to Oxford." And he was in where was he? Down in Bath, you know, the West Country, down there somewhere.
Yeah,
And we met on the Oxford Ring Road. He wanted to sign up immediately. Him and Ray. He went to the TAGB to actually show them it. They could see it was a kind of it's a bit of an inner circle there, was in those days, and they liked the idea, but they weren't going to adopt it, and that was the catalyst for Mark and Ray leaving the TAGB to set up Puma, because they wanted to go down that road of being. They saw this Pandora's box, you know, of stuff that they could do, you know, the more professionalism, be it, and that's what happened. That's what started Puma. You know, in my view, I was like a little bit of one reason why they did it. It wasn't the only reason,
yeah,
but it was kind of like that. Whereas other people like Lee Matthews, okay, look at him now, British military martial arts, still a very good friend of mine, a lot of history together, and we still do stuff together. I still coach in his group. I remember calling him up, and he only had 40 students. He was still in the army part time in the paras, or part time teaching.
yeah.
And he wasn't interested until I actually sent him the magazine again, or gave him a free kit. And that changed everything for him in a sense, you know, or one of the little things that was a, you know, the tipping point, if you like. You
Sounds
know,
like a great magazine. Like,
it was a
not
trade.
sure what it must have been on. Yeah,
The author, it was a trade magazine for us, and you don't get that now unless you're in. Maya still do it,
yeah,
okay, but it's not like buying Black Belt magazine. You know, it's just about training and stuff. It's about that, but business as well. And there's ads in there about you can buy stuff and do. There's all the usual stuff, but it's more about helping your school grow. And the author, the editor in chief was John Corcoran. And John Corcoran is well, those who know of him, he's a legend in the industry when it comes to martial arts authors, the people he knew. You know, he was good friends with Joe Lewis. They used to hang out together. You know, all that stuff. And I got very good friends with John, but an amazing editor. You know, he's got martial art books out there now, and you know, and he unfortunately passed away a few years ago as well. But I used to have some fun with him at the super shows in Vegas. He was always there, always in his 1970s, you know, sort of like his jacket, you know, in the casinos. It was one of those brushed velvet jackets he used to wear.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
Yeah, he was funny as anything, but great guy, good businessman, good martial artist as well. Yeah, but yeah, pushback. Same now as back then, maybe a little bit not so. The different pushback now would be a lot more school owners are working with other groups and not necessarily not me. So they go, well, "Who are you and what can you do for me?" It was more what I get now, you know.
yeah, yeah. Well,
You
it's
know.
the reach of the beer, whereas there's, you know, a richly saturated market, I suppose. It just shows the need for it. As you say, you know, so many martial arts schools that need help in terms of what to do with the business and the marketing, which is, to be honest, where we all kind of suck. Usually, we just want to get on the mat and teach. We don't want to do the extra bits. You know,
Oh, I was there.
it's definitely needed. Yeah. How about the Budo marketing then? How did that come about? And then why? As you
Well, that was an evolution of me working with Lee when I exited by Atomic. After a couple of years, I was back in the coaching. I had no intention of really of getting back into e-commerce and selling products. This was around about 2012, and Lee approached me because of Top 10. And he was running the Top 10 team in the UK kickboxing team, or him and a few others. He was obviously world champion in it as
yeah,
well. And he was selling the product along with us, because Biotomic was the original distributor for Top 10, but the kickboxing team was run independently.
yeah,
And he approached me and said, "Dave, do you want to buy Top 10 from me, the website and the business?" And I was like, "Forget it, mate. I'm not interested."
No way.
He said, "Well," I said, well, and I thought, I made the at the time you learn, but every mistake is a learning curve. And I said, "Look, if you make me a 50% shareholder, I'll do it." And he went, "You're in." So we took it over. I had to rebuild it all because it was a bit of a mess.
Right.
Started making a profit. We had a business. I moved it from a lockup. We had it in a lockup, sorry, for product our own warehouse, and then to a bigger warehouse. And then Kicksport came along, and that was a venture capital thing that was backed by venture money.
Yeah.
We did something on with that, and then I exited that in 2019. He kept it on, but I'd burnt out, Dan. I'd had enough of selling kit. Yeah, it's too much. And I really want to get back to what I love. That was helping people grow, coaching, online marketing. I've learned a lot about that back in the early days as well. And I suppose after lockdown came along, didn't it? 2019, started doing something again with one of my old business partners who helped me with Maya at Atomic. Me and him, and he was the guy who coached Gordon Bircham and some of the other guys. We started a thing called Atomic Coaching. Chris, his name was. But I was running the company and he was doing the coaching. And I wanted to get back to that really. So I exited 2019. Me and Chris got back together, then lockdown happened. And because I knew a little bit about Zoom and not necessarily Skype, because Skype was the big thing then, not Zoom.
Yeah.
Zoom suddenly become this $1 billion company because of lockdown.
Overnight almost, yeah.
What a weird story that is, because of a pandemic, And I created a Facebook group with us and Andy Schumann, who was Melody Schumann's ex from years ago. Melody is Melody Johnson from Skills Kids, and he helped us create this group. We ended up with about 900 school owners in this Facebook group, and we were just helping them with Zoom. There's no money involved in it. It was just like this is how you run Zoom and stuff like that. And a few of them took it on. A lot. There's always 80-20 rule. So we did that, and then out of the back end of that, me and Chris went our separate ways, and I got back together with a couple of the guys who are in the group now. Darren Hunter and Ian came along, and it just evolved. I was using ClickFunnels a lot. So I was an affiliate marketer for ClickFunnels. I was using it myself. I could see funnels were a big thing for martial arts school owners, sales pages, but not many were using them. Still using the old website approach, and a lot still are. And if you are, stop it. Okay. And because sales pages are much more important than your website in the sales process. And then what happened? Really weird story. A karate friend of mine in the Goju world approached me because I'd sent out these images online about what do you think about this for a logo, and it was a samurai helmet. Okay, and a few different.
Yeah.
And he said, and he was I didn't know at the time that he was a branding guy. He worked, he worked with companies like Esso and things like that. And he said to me, "Dave, I'll do a brand overview for you because I don't think you're going down the right track." Now, bearing in mind, we've been rebranded by Atomic. We'd spent £25,000 back then rebranding by Atomic. So I understood what he was on about, but I didn't know what he was going to send me. And he sent me over 2 projects. And he never charged me a penny for it. Checked the domains were there, gave me the strap line, created the logo, created the brand awareness. Everything you see now with that's a samurai helmet.
Yeah.
So it's got the wings on it and then the helmet coming out. That's what he designed it on. And it was like Budo Marketeers, he called it. And I like that because there was a connection to the Three Musketeers, Band of Brothers, all that sort of stuff. And it stuck. And guys, anybody watching this, Dan, when you look at something and you think, that's it. And that was one of those moments.
Yeah.
Changed nothing. And he showed me another one, which is more martial arty. I went, no. It's that. That's the one. And that's what happened. And that was Budo Marketeers 5 years ago.
Nice.
And it hadn't really evolved into what it is today, which is a coaching, mentoring, training, and we've got the stuff to help you create your online marketing because it's the front end stuff. And it's evolved into, right, we've got student management software now, so we've got the back end stuff now as
I was going
well.
to say, yeah, because you're now developing back end as well, aren't you, with the CRM
Mm.
systems? So,
Yeah, there was nothing like that. Stuff. Yeah, the whole package, yeah. And that's how it evolved.
perfect. Let's get to the crux of it then, because this is what people wanted to know. They wanted to know how can they maybe generate an extra kind of 10,000 that's kind of hidden in their martial arts schools right now. This is
Yeah,
kind of the speciality of yours, and I've done a few webinars with you, and we've spoken on the group chats and things like that about how people can get extra income from the martial arts classes. It's given me ideas, and obviously there's always pushback and there's always your own kind of mental blockages, I suppose, of going, but we always do it this way, and then, oh, what if I get pushed back, or what do I do with these things? And I think you guys at Buddha are really good at kind of talking people through that.
um, that's better. Look, I put my light on.
Ta-da! And there was like,
Oh, there's gone again. So yeah, it is a mindset. You're absolutely right. You do need to get your head straight about, from a mindset point of view, is not chasing the leads all the time. Okay, look at what you've already got. You can never take your foot off the gas, whether you're successful or you are kind of mediocre. I've made a mistake myself doing it. Coming out of Christmas, out of last year, I took my foot off the webinar gap, the webinar thing that we do, because webinars for me are the way to get people into my space, because I'm giving them some sort of like the 10K thing. I'm giving them some sort of tool they can go away with and go, actually, that's pretty cool. This
I want to know more. Yeah.
Yeah, this Dave Lowe guy, and Ian who's working with me, they know what they're on about. So it's kind of like one of those. So, and I think, just on a side note, webinars for martial arts school owners is a thing of the future to market their schools. But we can come back to that. So
I was going to say, yeah, I've got some questions on that.
yeah.
Yeah. We'll come back.
Okay, well, we'll come back to that then, because I think it's the future. Um, as opposed to paid ads as well. It's a great organic way of getting people in, and all running ads to those, so you can educate people. So the 10K thing came from an idea. Well, it wasn't an idea. It was an idea, a concept from a guy called Frank Kern, who I've followed for many years, and he's an online marketer. Frank Kern is still around to this day. I'm in his inner circle. He is just like he was one of these guys who made $1 million in a day online sales back in 2003 or four, something like that. It was crazy what he's done. And I follow him implicitly. He's big into AI now at the moment, but the sales process never changed. And in our group, which in the community, there is a module inside of there with 3 videos that are rare as anything, of Frank going through the 3-step process about what I'm about to tell you all, which is super detailed. But this is like the overview. There's an old saying: the money's in the list. Okay, and that's an old online saying, and you own a list. If you've got name, email, telephone number, and they're on a CSV file or an Excel spreadsheet on your computer, or on your email list you're doing, they're yours. You own that list. Whereas when you're doing paid ads, you don't own that list. You're chucking out the float. If somebody's actually put their name, email, and telephone number, and you've got them, there's a reason you've got them. The reason is they filled something in. So they're pre-qualified.
They're a warm lead.
Yes, but they don't stay a warm lead. And this is like this. I've got a thing called the 496 process, which again is in the group, and it's about where the customer is on any given time on their journey. Okay, it's like a pyramid or an iceberg. The iceberg's the better analogy. The people above the waterline are the ones what we call in the 3-4%. And this is not me making it up. This is industry stuff, not in our industry, but in general. They're the buyers, but they don't stay there. They move back down again or move back up again. So you've got the people who are totally unaware, the people who have an awareness, the people who have an awareness that know about you, and then the ones who are ready to buy. And the problem is we're all marketing to the ones who are ready to buy all the time, and we need to actually market to the ones who have slipped down a little bit, and we want to bring them back up. So that's what this does. So if you've got old leads, and we spoke to a school owner yesterday, and he's just joined our group. And when we asked him, how many old leads have you got? He said 1,500. Now, if you do the maths, and we all like numbers, right? And we all like money. So if you did the maths on that, and you said, right, he's got 1,500 people, and if you look at what each one of those people are worth just for the month, because it will be a ridiculous number. Say, for example, that one person was worth, I don't know, £59. I think he charges more than that. You know, for 1 month, if you sign them all back up, which wouldn't happen, that's worth £88,500. And if you times that by 12, that'd be worth to you £1.62 million.
Not a bad year.
So my question to him was, would you market to those people if you could just even get 20% of it? You know, so if you times that by 20%, you know, you're talking about, you know, a couple of £100,000, you know, possibly, you know, or 100 grand possibly in bottom line.
Yeah.
You know, would you be interested in marketing to those people? And it's kind of like the answer is always, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, then so even if you've got 100 people or 200 or whatever, go and get those old leads. I mean, in the old days, I had them all written down on paper, you know, and you had to get on the phone to ring them up. But the process for this is this, and it's all about campaign building. But what you do first is you come up with an offer for them, and it's a 4-day offer that closes on day 4. Okay, so and there's 2 approaches to it. The first one is you do a warm-up sequence. So you're telling them about the offer that's coming, but there's going to be limited spaces on it. So it's all psychology of sales, NLP, that type of thing, you know. But make sure you keep an eye out for the thing that we're going to be sending out to you, because you were interested in this once before. You might be interested in this again. This might be the right time. Okay. We did this online in some live events with it, and we got some people to actually call some people while they were live on our webinar. And the last one we did, 3 or 4 of them actually, well, all of them who did it had 3 or 4 people actually reply to them on their phone straight away, which is nuts. It wasn't the same process as this, but it's just messaging old leads. Okay, so what you do with this one is you take your list, you drop them into your CRM, like us it would be Budo Pulse, you know, you put them into your contacts and they'll all be tagged old lead for whatever reason, okay? But you can re-tag them because tags are super important for managing your leads. You would then drop them into a 4-day sequence based on your offer. And your offer is the same as you always do, you just repackage it differently. So it's either a free taster class with a free t-shirt, free week, or with us, a program. But with an evaluation to start with, then drop them into a program, okay? But the evaluation is free to see whether you're a fit for us. That part is called push-pull, which is a sales process, which I won't go into today, but it's really important to do because you're kind of saying to them, because they'll ask you, what will they ask you? How much is it? And you say, I don't know whether you're going to be a fit for the school yet or not. Let's see whether you like it or not, and then we can talk about that. But you can price drop as well, because it's always good to do that. So you have that. You basically create 4 days worth of emails and SMS. And on day 3 and 4, you double up on your emails, especially on day 4 when the closing is midday, okay, on day 4. And then you send out the sequence of emails, you drop them into an autoresponder and let it go. And then over the days, it's going to be marketing to all of your leads. So imagine those 1,500 people getting email 1. Hey, it's David. You expressed an interest in our school whenever. You know, we've got a really cool offer coming up at the moment. We're doing another intake. If you're interested, you know, fill in the calendar now because spaces are limited. And the offer ends in 3 days because we know we're going to run out of space. Thanks, Dave. That's it. It's short as anything. None of all this long copy because you don't need it because they already know who you are. Once you've gone through that process, you'll start seeing leads coming in, people inquiring again, and out of that, you'll see at least 10 to 20% uptake, generally, unless they're really old leads. But it's just raising the dead. That's all you're doing. But the concept is to do that and then get rid of the people that really are no good, the bounced emails that are dead, clean the list out, get rid of get people to unsubscribe, because at the bottom of it, we always put, and if this isn't for you, don't worry. If you don't want to hear from us again, just unsubscribe and tell them to unsubscribe as well. Now, yeah, absolutely. Now you can run ads to it as well if you want to. You can do an ad campaign, or you can just use your cold lead. So there's a couple of ways. There's loads of two different ways of doing it. It's entirely up to you. But that will generate for you minimum of 10k over a year if you do it right, easily. Yeah, so that's how you do it, guys. But you do need an autoresponder. You do need to actually have the right message, and it's always good to warm them up for a week beforehand. Because if you're doing your homework already, you would have them in an autoresponder anyway. Because we do this in the Budo group, which we call just our cold lead list, and they would get an email once a month anyway, for 3 years, until you do it again or whatever. So you're constantly reminding people who you are and what you do. You're never selling them to them on those ones. You're just telling them the benefits of martial arts.
Put your hand up and saying I'm here.
It's called a hand raiser.
Aha, there you go.
Yeah, and then you drop them into the sales sequence. So generally what Frank would do is all of the hand raisers would go straight into the sales sequence. But you don't have to do it that way. So anybody who replies back on the warm-up sequence said, yes, I'm interested, okay, you would tag them as soon as they replied in the positive, and then put them into the sales sequence. Say, oh, great, check out our latest offer, get yourself on now, only 10 spots available. But the beauty of it is, Dan, you would do that every month.
Yeah, keep cycling around.
Yeah.
You do that presumably with cold leads, you can do it with ex-members, I'd imagine, as well, so people that have left for whatever reason, they've moved away, or some time off for an injury, etc. So you connect with people that have at some point shown interest.
Yeah, absolutely. Because why wouldn't you? Because they remember at some point. I mean, the reason people leave, majority I remember, wasn't just because they were fed up. They were bored with martial arts. Yes, you had that, but a lot of them either moved on, circumstances changed. They might have moved out of town, might be back again. All that type of stuff. Yeah. So that's just it's what we call. Frank called it the 4-day cash machine. We call it the 4-day student getting machine. Yeah. So, and it doesn't have to be 4 days, but the 4 days is a good sequence. And if you use either SMS and WhatsApp, with WhatsApp, you'll get an even better response.
You always get a better response.
Yeah.
People seem to use it a lot.
Yeah.
Know it.
Yeah, so it's
in terms of software, then, if this is new to everyone, this is the first time they've heard about autoresponders, they've heard about email lists and things like that, what would be your basic info for someone that's coming in a completely blank slate? Just kind of go, okay, right, this is my step A, I need to do this. And then need to be on step B. I don't want to overcomplicate anything, I just want to do it as simply as possible, because I'm a bit of a dinosaur, I still have a pen and paper, or I've got a list of emails somewhere that I can probably get and upload onto something, but I've got no idea where to start.
Yeah.
That would be your kind of idiot's guide, I suppose.
Join our group.
Join a group, yeah.
Yeah, join our group because because you're with us, and there's accountability there. There's the support there. Any questions we answer, So there's we try and be as transparent as we can there. But the number one thing is get it onto a spreadsheet. Yeah. Even if you put it onto an Excel spreadsheet and then convert that into a CSV file, just like export as CSV. That's it. Comma separated values. For some reason, I'm useless at those things. Then you upload it. What we do, we then, and there's some training in the group for it. You upload your contacts list into the CRM, into the whatever CRM means. It's content relationship management or whatever you want to call it.
So
it's just it's a bit of software that has everything in it and does stuff. It's marketing. Yeah, get them in there. That's the first thing you need to do. We use a thing called School, which has become quite popular. Nowadays people see that. There's a few guys in the industry using it. We have a private group in there where the training is. So if you're in one of our packages, one of our subscriptions, you've got access to that, and the training is in there. And the first thing you do is upload your list, create your emails in there, in draft format, create the automation, and then create the sales pipeline. Because once somebody drops in and says, yes, and they book a call, they book an appointment to come to you, or you do it on the phone, regardless. We put them into a pipeline. The pipelines are the first things we teach you to create once you're in with us. And the pipeline is a stage of steps that they're at. So the first one would be booked a call, attended second time, DNS didn't show,
Yeah.
joined, you know, cold lead.
One cold. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you can
Move people around as.
yeah, I've got a friend of mine he's an online marketer, and the guy has done 100 grand months, and he only used his pipeline to start with. That's all he did. He got leads in, put them into his pipeline, moved them along religiously and relentlessly until he got them to either join or they're not interested. And yeah, so and you just manage that. Now in our software, that's probably one of the most important places you should hang out is in your contacts and your pipeline. You know, once you're set up, you know, you want to be managing that stuff as effectively as possible. You know, but then there's the sales part of it as well, because when people do come in, you know, how good a salespeople are we? You know, so you know we need to pay attention to how we close people, making our offer so good they can't say no. That kind of thing. Obviously, disqualifying people that aren't right for you early days, you know, because we all try to sign up everyone, but you can't do that because it would just make your life worse.
Yeah.
You know, been there and done that. So yeah, so that is the 4 day cash machine or 4 days.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so some top tips there for people then. But I think the main thing to take away is to get that list built up, and then from there, as you say, that list is kind of where you want to be.
Well, that list can be built up.
Making money and, you know, kind of contacting people that make it and doing the outreach.
Well, those leads come from number one, Facebook lead form.
Yeah.
Is easy, yeah, but that's a paid thing you've got to do. So you've got that. Maybe Google, who you know might be using Google. Anybody who fills a form in on your site, if you've got one on there. Anybody who books a trial but doesn't attend.
Yeah.
Anybody who books a trial that attends that doesn't continue for whatever reason, maybe. You know, I mean, it's worth asking them as well, following up, saying, "Are you interested in staying on the list or not?" Yeah. Anyone who's referred to you, you know, that signs, fills something in. It's a constant thing, but you own the list, so it's really important because it's money sitting there. Absolutely. You know. Most people go, "What am I going to do this month?" You know, and it's a reactive marketing, we call it, and that's not a good place to be. You want to be planning your year, planning. Right now, we're July the 1st. Q3, guys, we're halfway through the year. Where did the other half go? You know, you know. So I think it was Lee Trunks you interviewed Lee, didn't you? A few months ago. Lee said it as well. You know, you got into this and you did. You know, you got into this to train, but you don't think about all the other stuff that goes on, lead generation, you know, landing pages, all that stuff. You know.
Honestly, it's overwhelming. And I think a lot of people find it overwhelming because they don't know what to do. They've got a website, but then the technology just goes, "Oh my god!" And then you go, "Okay, well, I should be sending them to a lead page, but then I need to have a lead magnet. I need to make the lead magnet, and then I need to get people into a lead group, into a sign-up page. Then I need to segment them, like I said, to get them into a tag or something like that. Then I need to start sending the emails out." But I think, like I said, it's just making it as simple as possible to begin with and building it from there, is it not?
It is because yeah, I mean, like a lead magnet, for example, you could use AI to create one. I did the other day, and it did it. Claude did it in a matter of 5 or 10 minutes, and it was spot on. And at the time, I'd iterated a few times. It actually written it. I read the copy, and I'm a bit sort of like particular about what AI says. Even I went, "Holy crap, that's pretty good."
Yeah.
And all I had to do was download the PDF, upload it to somewhere where it can be downloaded, Google Drive, and then create a form so people can get it, because that's the data capture part. Whatever you do, and I see this is a big mistake with many people, not just martial arts, but they'll create a lead magnet or something to download as information on the school, but the information in there isn't very good and there's no calls to action in there. So again, it's a sales process in that lead magnet, how you write it, but also don't give it away to them so they can download it and they've got it, because all you've done is they've bypassed you, got your thing, and you've got no details. And it's the reciprocity rule, what I call it. you know.
Yeah. Finally, then, before I let you go, webinars. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, webinars. I predict that martial arts, and we're certainly going to do this in the group without a doubt. So you'll be in on that because it's great. And I think first of all you need the right software to do it. We've got that. I use it all the time. They are super effective for getting in front of people. How you run them is super important as well. You've got to make sure that you have the right approach to them, and you're addressing the pain points with them, without going into too much detail about you. But you do need to go into the detail because it is really a discovery thing. I don't think they should be a sales process. I think they should be a warming up process, like I mentioned earlier, as well. If somebody's super interested, they'll Q&A you at the end straight away anyway, or they'll contact you but the most important thing is they won't cost you anything unless you run ads to them. You can run them as an event as well. So you can go to Facebook, create an event, and it just runs straight to your pre-recorded webinar as well. And it's a great way of, like I said, creating lead generation and letting people know exactly what it is you fix and how they can get in contact with you, to take up martial arts in your school.
What kind of topics would you run for the martial arts?
What topics for the webinar?
Yeah.
Numbers are great. So it's just the pain points that parents have that they want to fix, or adults want to fix, or whether it's men or women only, whatever, that type of thing. So you'd be addressing the most particular things that are relevant at this point of time, and you'd be talking about those, like the 5 things that your kids aren't getting from school, that we can help you teach, or the 3 things that help your kids' grades. You'll be surprised at the answer. Sort of like one of those, and what's the answer? Martial art classes. Yeah. So just got to be a bit creative. Like our one is the 10K challenge. Did you know there's 10K sitting in your school that you haven't claimed yet? Would you? Would you like to know how? It's kind of like one of those. Yeah, and I think some of the guys in our group, because I was big on organic marketing originally, I never really touched Facebook ads, but I do now. And the organic side of it, a lot of them are very, like Darren Reynolds is a prime example. Darren Hunter up in Newcastle is another example. Darren Hunter doesn't even run ads anymore. It's all organic. He uses a lot of reels, a lot of video. Again, great vehicles for getting seen on Facebook and Instagram. Where you think yeah, because you do your posts and you think, well, no one's looking at them. Why do I bother? You need to bother, but if you shoot a video and it goes into your reels or your stories, then more people are going to see them. Everyone's seen that, So there's that as well. But from an organic point of view with the webinar, you can create so many leads doing that, and it's just an amazing tool. But we're gonna be doing more of that in the group. So it's an interesting new subject.
Speaking of the group, then, if people are interested, they're listening at the moment, they're going, I could use a little bit of help. I need a little bit of a hand doing this, doing that, etc. Where can people get in contact with you?
They can go to budomarketeer.com, which is our main website, .com. So it's Budo, B-U-D-O, marketeer, W-E-R.com. Or they can book a call with me. Let me just go and have a quick look, which is the same web address, which is budomarketeer.com. Book your call. So it's book-your-call. I'll give you the link anyway. If anybody wants. Yeah, and if they want to book a discovery call with me, they can do that. But I will stress, it's not a sales call. I do not do that ever on the first call because number one, they might not be the right fit for what we do, and I certainly wouldn't want to take anyone's money or waste anyone's time on that. And secondly, we want them to not be overwhelmed too much because there is overwhelm, and they have to be prepared to put the work in.
Sure. Yeah.
Which we've all done, and we all continue to do. Yeah.
We get the results. So.
Yeah, exactly, Dan. Yeah.
David, thank you. I really appreciate it. Some top tips in there for anyone that's kind of running martial arts. I think it's really important. I think it's really cool what you're doing. Obviously being part of the group, I see the results of it definitely help me in the past few months, and we'll continue to as well. So thank you, and yeah, anyone that wants to get in touch with David, please do, or anyone that wants to have a chat with me about it, I can kind of signpost you as well to anything that way. So yeah, please do. Other than that, David, thank you so much.
Thank you, and apologies for the lighting.
It's all good.
I'm in the shadow. Okay.
Thank you.
Cheers, Dan.